What's goody, fam? I just harvested a whole bunch of garlic scapes for the second time. This is the second time that I filled this bin. The first time it was a little bit more full. So I want to go over some field notes about garlic scapes, garlic, lettuce, and peas. Maybe some other things along the way. Let's get into it. So, I planted these garlics four rows wide, and I planted these garlics 3 rows wide. You can kind of come down here and take a better look at it. Excuse the weeds. You can see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then over here it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And there is 18 to 19 different varieties of garlic. So the way that I tell them apart was, one, I wrote it all down in the way that I planted them, so I know where one stops and the next one starts. But I also, when the next variety is switching to the next variety, I leave it with like either 3 or 4, or 5. So you can see right here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's 1, 2, 3. So that helps me know that it's changing to the next variety. And actually, I put sticks here too as like a marking point. So it's like, okay, the next variety. So 1, 2, 3, and then just from right here to this stick is another variety. And then so on and so forth. It goes the whole way down. So I'll keep on playing with the 4 versus 3 row planting, but either there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of shade on this side. We're south, all the way south, and this tree edge and 24/7 running river creates a lot of moisture and shade. So constant moisture and shade. So there's a lot of slug pressure, and maybe because there wasn't enough fertility in the bed, maybe you could still plant to 4 wide, but you got to make sure you have that fertility to crank that out. As to where the 3 rows, they just are looking a little bit bigger and a little bit healthier, but the 3 rows also are just this much farther out to the north, which gives them more full sun throughout the day. But it's also variety dependent. So some varieties just are naturally smaller than other varieties. And those scapes that we started the video at is what I've been pulling off. You can see this is the remnants of one. And you want to pull off those scapes so that all the energy gets directed back into the bulb, because over the next month is when the garlic basically puts on all their size. Like if you pulled one up right now, it'd be smaller than a golf ball. And in the next month, they just swell up into full heads of garlic. So everybody has their own perspective about when to pull the scape. So here's one. I was trying to find one that I missed. So some people will wait until this scape turns all the way around and stands up straight like that. But as you can see, this one is still kind of curved. But for me, that's good all day. And that one's good all day too, because I like them when they're a little bit younger and tender. Because if you wait, see there's another stick marking along from a variety to the next. If you wait until they spin all the way around, then they get a little bit more woody and a little bit less edible. But see, this one I'm kind of leaving because it's like right on the fence, but since I'm right here and already going back to the row, I might as well just pick them. The only thing is with that is that you're going to get a little bit more regrowth, in which you would kind of have to go back and pick that regrowth, which I haven't had a problem doing within the past years. But on this scale, and as I get larger and larger, sizing up to the 5,600 pounds mark, I'm gonna want to become a little bit more organized. And what I mean by that is one of the garlic farms that I had worked on, they had it organized. So they had tapped into what varieties put off their scapes earliest to latest, and they had it rowed out like that. So it would be like this row, these scapes, these garlics put off their scapes the earliest. This row, these garlics put off their scapes middle, and then this row, these garlics put on their scapes like last. So I would really need a second person to like help me kind of tune into that. But I'm sure it could be done eventually. But what was I trying to say? Kind of lost my train of thought for a second. The reason why I haven't done that yet is because the varieties, each variety doesn't really have enough quantity to be in its own row. So I'm planting all of the varieties mixed matched together, keeping the varieties separated, but I'm planting them all in the same row because I don't really have enough of every variety to plant them in a full row. I know I just kind of said that, but repeated it in a different way. So those are my garlic notes for today, and I hope that you could gain something from that, something of value. And please let me know if you have any more questions, comments, concerns, or ideas on the garlic. And let's get into the lettuce front. So last Wednesday, I came through, maybe not these ones, because these ones were still a little bit younger. But all of these lettuce in here, I know the weeds have started taking over, but because I haven't been up here doing my daily maintenance. But you can see these lettuce have already put on enough regrowth to be harvested again. And if you waited another week, they'd be really harvestable. So for the market gardener, or any human being trying to just grow food for themselves or sell produce, I chopped these heads of Roxy lettuce down to the ground. Like they literally, this one hasn't, I must have chopped this one a little bit harder, so it took it a little bit longer to regrow. But they all look like that, maybe a little bit even less, Just completely chopped it right at the growth point, right above the growth point. And then look at how much lettuce they've put off in the last week. I could get another 30 bags. If I wait another week, I could get another 30 bags. And if I want to just harvest for this upcoming Thursday again, I could for sure get another 10 bags. So, which 50 bucks is 50 bucks. Look at this Roxy lettuce. Oh my goodness. So cut and come again, it's not something like magical over here. It's a well-known practice. Rather than just harvesting the whole head, you snip the lettuce right above the growth point, and you get a serious amount of regrowth in just a week from that already established root system. And some people will just harvest the outer leaves, but I feel like when you're coming down a row and you're trying to get a lot of quantity to make a delivery, that's just a little bit more tedious. And I feel like you can damage the leaves with the pruners depending on what variety it is when you're coming around harvesting the outside leaves. Like some people just will snip the outside leaves around and then let these new smaller leaves on the middle continue to regrow. As to where, like I was saying, I just take this whole thing, snip right under here, and then I have all this lettuce, and then it regrows. I think that way is a little bit easier. You just have to make sure that you're harvesting right above the growth point. Now, that is my notes on lettuce. Please let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns on that, ideas. And I want to talk about peas for a second. Some of these peas are sizing up really nicely. It would be best on me to come through and harvest the ones that are about this size. So all of the smaller ones, these are up to size 2. So the peas are ready to harvest, and they weren't ready to harvest just a few days ago, but we got some cooler weather and some rain, which is what they like. So I would come through and harvest all the ones that are about this size so that it could give energy to these smaller ones to size up. And then these white flowers right here is an indication that they're trying to put off more peas. So the more you pick your peas, the more they will produce. And there's only a very short period. Like these are probably just gonna go, it's the first week of June, they'll probably go another 2 weeks, and then it's gonna get too hot for peas to thrive. So you get a good 3 weeks of pea harvest as long as you continually come through the row and harvest the mature ones. Now, if you were going to save seed off of these, maybe you could come through the first time and harvest the mature ones and then let the rest of the energy just go into developing more mature pods that would just eventually end up drying on the vine and you can harvest for seed. I haven't saved seed off of peas to scale yet, and maybe that will happen here this season, and I can share more notes on saving pea seed once I have a little bit more experience with that. But there's 2 other rows as big as this pea row right around the farm. I guess we can go take a quick look at them. So, and that is my notes on pea production And harvesting, like I said, I'll make another video about saving seed from peas once I have more experience with that. And please let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas with that. And so now I guess we can just kind of go around the rest of the farm, give a quick little farm tour at what's growing. I know there's a lot of weeds. Like I said, I haven't been up here doing my daily maintenance, but this Swiss chard is finally starting to come into a life of its own. Swiss chard, Swiss chard. Kale that I planted in April and died all the way back, and now it's starting to regrow. Kale with the same story. Swiss chard, Swiss chard, Swiss chard, Swiss chard. Anyways, onions. Look at those onions. Planted back in the end of April. Really starting to put on some nice, sizable growth. And the idea is that you plant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's like 10 to 12 onions just right in this little space. And they'll grow and just create space for the rest of the bulbs. Oh, I guess there was one other note that I wanted to share. And it is on mulches. Swiss chard coming into a life of its own. And see how there's all these weeds in the pathway? That's why. That is because the pathway is where it's most traveled. So that's where the wood chips are moved the most. So that's gonna, if you move the wood chips, any plants that are under the wood chips that you're trying to suppress, is gonna give sunlight to them and allow them to grow better. So that's why the dominant uptake of weeds is right in the pathway. But if you look right here, see how there's no weeds coming through that? That's because I laid the mulch thick enough. So there was a layer of grass, a layer of leaves, and then like 2 wheelbarrows on top of each other, layered. But since I was trying to get this whole 1/8 of an acre plot laid out by a certain time period, I didn't even get the wood chips laid on this half, as to why, hence why there was so much weeds coming through. If I had a chance to do it again, I would do it completely differently. And I definitely will apply all of my learning experience to the future. So one love wholeness, and that was my last note on some mulch. Please let me know if you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, thoughts. And that is a much love wholeness from Farmer John. And we will see you on the next one. And these are my potatoes, all growing up. Very nicely.